Hey everyone, J.K. Whited here from the Baseball Rebellion, here to give you this week's prospect breakdown. This week we have the number 3 prospect. He's in the Chicago White Sox organization by the name of Luis Robert from Cuba. Big old boy, 6'3", about 185 pounds, and drives the ball extremely well. Lots of power, a lot of potential power, obviously with a body frame like that. So let's take a look at the swing real quick, so we can have a look at that, and then we'll break it down. All right, so there you have it. It's kind of the real live, look at it right here. And I watched a good number of his swings actually. There's lots of good YouTube clips and things out there to watch. And I saw a number of home runs and obviously showing off the power. Also saw how he got out a lot. And there seems to be a fair share of miss-hit foul backs and a lot of pop-ups. And I'm going to get into that as we break it down. So. This is obviously not a pop-up. I think this was a double in the left center field gap. So, you can see the pre-pitch movement, something that we hit on a lot because so many young players especially don't have any of this. So you're going to see a nice little sway back. But notice the slight inward rotation of the hips. Not a ton. He doesn't have a huge leg lift or anything like that. It's relatively simple. You're going to see that foot come off the ground a little bit. But you can see a little rotation into that back hip, starting to store that energy a little bit, kind of on the inner right hip there. As he creates that fastening point for the coil through the ground. That's something that we want to make sure of as we prepare ourselves, is that with this back leg, foot stays connected to the ground pretty sturdy so that we can create that fastening point to the ground. As he starts to move forward, you can see that elbow pull back nicely, loading that scap behind him as he pulls back and moves forward. Then his toes on the ground. So he lands kind of, top of his foot first. You can see that the toe on the ground. Still got the elbow back, so he's still loaded up. He's hit the ground, but his heel's still in the air. Now, when he really pulls the trigger, you're going to see this back hip, right, and knee start to pull forward. That's the trigger of the swing. You're going to see that happen with the elbow still behind him. And you see that action right there where he's starting to pull that hip and knee forward as the elbow's still behind him. That's going to create as much stretch as possible. He lands, for me, pretty short. There's a lot of tall swings where his feet are, I think, a little bit short for his size. Just kind of going off certain body comps that you see in the big leagues. Not that it can't be done, and it definitely can be done. But we know how important head position is, and in this swing in particular, you're going to see him again as the back hip and knee pulls forward and the back heel comes off the ground. You can see that front heel going down into the ground at the same time. Very important in that now that front leg is really into the ground, using the ground to push back, and you can see that really nice shoulder change, right? You can see that back shoulder pull down, with the pull of the hip and knee, that pulls the back shoulder and elbow down. You can clearly see the front shoulder go up in that switch, and that's the attempt of the hitter to start to get behind and under the ball. And you're going to see really nice. I love this shot right here. I bring it up every time I can. You're going to see the ball, barrel, catcher's mitt, right? So we see that line up right there. That's him about 1.5 feet, maybe probably about a foot, I guess, something like that, behind the ball. And that's really a key to power, right? Everyone talks about bat speed, and I like to talk about the other half of it, which is angles and getting the barrel in the way of the ball as fast and as soon as possible. And you're going to see that right here pretty clearly as he works up to the ball. You can't really see the tilt in from like you can from the front view, but I wanted to show this back view just to highlight some different things. But you can definitely tell he's tilted in towards the plate because of kind of the way you can see underneath his left armpit, and then top of his head is really the only thing visible. So he's not tall. He also has the really good hit, quote unquote hitter's box here from his shoulder to his elbow to his the handle. You can actually see that right forearm coming up a little bit right there from the other side of his body. And he's got that nice space in the middle, right? You can see all this daylight between his arms right here. So he's got that nice box that he's turning up into contact and then continues to rotate out. Releases a little bit. But releases the barrel. His arms kind of stay tight a little bit, but again, when this ball is hit at this kind of pace at the appropriate spot, you don't really need it, but still a good thing to have most of the time when you're releasing through the ball. Head back position is pretty good here. Head is slightly behind the knee, and that's really what I saw him when he got in the most trouble when I watched him. They put together the montage of game clips. I saw some choppy grounders and I saw a good number of pop-ups, to be honest with you. Some foul ball pop-ups, some infield pop-ups. balls that he probably should have hit better, and they kind of foul tipped. And I think he gets caught forward a lot. I think there's a number of swings that would concern me just from a longevity standpoint. Like if he tags it, can he hit it a long way? Absolutely, no doubt. But when he starts seeing better and better pitching, will his head position get him in some trouble? And again, I only saw a certain amount. Obviously, his numbers are great against the competition he has faced thus far, but always looking forward into the future and facing the Scherzers and the Verlanders and the guys that he's going to have to hit one day. Will that affect him at all with that head forward? Because again, a number of pop-ups. I was a little surprised with that. Some head forwards, a lot of swings where he'd finish kind of leaning over that front leg and different things. But this one, he gives it right. You're going to see that nice finish all the way around, something that right-handers need to make sure they do, finishing those shoulders. Obviously, we know the hips stop and the back foot stops, but the shoulders rotating all the way through, not in any hurry to run. He's going to take that full swing every time. So very powerful guy, very, very good frame, super athletic, nice intent as usual in big, potential big leaguers. But one of the things that we want to make sure of is head position and odd body angles, and it matters so much at that level because everybody swings fast at that level. But being able to get behind balls and having that large window of margin for error is essential to the longevity of a player's career, so he doesn't fizzle out when he gets to the top level. So interesting to see another young player. Let me know if you have any questions or any comments about these young players that we see here, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And thanks a lot. We'll see you again next week.